My son is upset. I want to help his ex after he cheated on her. My son, who we'll call Mark, got with his ex, who we'll call Maggie, when they were in high school, and they've been together for almost 3 years. Honestly, the way they got together was crazy, but story for another time. Point is that they have been through a lot of hell together, and it made them, what I thought, inseparable. They recently moved into a new apartment, and due to the pandemic, we haven't seen much of them. Last time my wife and I saw them was 2 months ago, but I texted both of them fairly often, just to keep in touch and check up. I haven't gotten any response from Maggie since last week. I asked Mark about this, and he told me she wasn't feeling well. Well, okay, I can understand just wanting to focus on getting better with no distractions. Yesterday, my son texted me that he was coming over because he had to tell us something. I asked if he was bringing Maggie and he didn't respond. Well, he knocks on the door and there he is with a complete stranger that I have never met before. I was confused because they were holding hands and she looked excited. He asked if they could come in and sit down, and that's when he spilled everything. He had been cheating on Maggie with this girl for about 2 months and told Maggie last week. I was shocked. I couldn't really speak. My wife asked what her name was and then asked if she wanted something to drink. The girl looked smug about the whole thing, like she was proud of being the other woman. My wife didn't really look fazed at all, got up and got her some water. I asked Mark where Maggie was now. For context, Maggie was one of those people who you would never guess came from a horrible household, because she was so kind and sweet and hid her depression very well. I had grown close to her, and my wife and I wanted to be the family she never had, and that's why I was confused as to why my wife wasn't really upset. Maggie didn't have a job because she was studying for a license, while Mark made the money. Mark says he doesn't know where she was and didn't really care, and that I shouldn't care because he wasn't happy with her, and he's happy now. He seemed like he hated her, but I know he didn't. He was the happiest when he was around her, and she brought out a great side in him. I became furious, asking him how he couldn't care and how cold it was. How could he do that to her, and how he knows what she's been through, and then stabs her in the back. My wife didn't say anything, and I asked if she knew. Apparently, she didn't tell me, so Mark could tell me himself. I demanded that Mark tell me where she was, and he started yelling, saying that I care more about her than I do him. It's not that, it's that Maggie became a part of the family and I couldn't stand by while she had nowhere to go, and I'm afraid she will hurt herself because of my son's betrayal. I stormed out to my car and went to look for her. As soon as I left, I got a barrage of texts from both my son and my wife calling me a prick for not being happy. My wife's texts especially hurt when she said she didn't really care for her, and it's a burden lifted off of our shoulders. I've never seen this side of my wife because we have very similar values and we both don't tolerate cheating, but apparently she has exceptions. Now, I'm in my office trying to find Maggie because she is still dear in my heart, and I want to hear what she has to say and help her find a safe place. My wife comes in and tries to start an argument, but I've been ignoring her and my son since. Advice on how to move forward and deal with this mess? Reddit comments. A man is defined by his actions. A good man is defined by doing the right thing, even when there might be consequences. You're a good man. Keep doing what you feel is right. When my ex's dad found out he had been cheating on me for the last 7 months of our 2.5-year relationship, living together too, he told my ex he shouldn't have done that, and that he should have been a better man. I wish I could have been there for that moment. Supporting your kid doesn't always mean supporting their bad behavior. I'm glad you heard about that, so that you know it wasn't a pleasant experience for the ex. My ex's parents did the same thing to my ex as well. His mom cried for like a day over it. I appreciate parents who emphasize not bad behavior. I honestly feel like there's a whole lot more to this story. There are parts missing. Things aren't adding up. Are you sure that they gave you the entire story? I almost feel like maybe your son and your wife still know something that they haven't told you. Like perhaps this new girl is pregnant. Maybe. But I don't know why they wouldn't tell me if they want me to understand fully why my son did what he did. I'm hoping to maybe get some more info from Maggie if I find her, but my son and my wife are still very angry and doesn't seem like they'll calmly approach the subject yet. I just said the same thing. I've been in her shoes. I was with an ex, my first love for 9 years, when he suddenly announced, in a room full of people no less, that he was leaving me for another woman. I was devastated. He ended up getting her pregnant. He's in the past for a good reason. I really hope Op finds this poor girl and gets her whatever help she needs. He sounds like one of the rare decent people left in this world. I've been in a similar situation, and when his family reached out to me to let me know of their shame and disappointment in his decision, it made me feel much better than just silence and loyalty. First off, I want to start out by saying that you're a wonderful person. I don't know what Maggie went through specifically, but I had an extremely rough childhood myself and grew up in a broken family. Having a father-in-law that so clearly cared a lot about me would be a pretty big deal that'd mean the world to me. That is something I've legitimately dreamed about. It sounds weird, I know, but that's what happens when you have a messed up childhood. You get a bit weird with some stuff. Anyways, your son screwed up big time. I don't want to necessarily say he's a bad person, since good people can make mistakes, but what he did is a pretty horrible action. It's really bad that your wife is so accepting of this. Is it normal for her to be so forgiving towards your son? Your son isn't gonna learn if his bad actions aren't treated as such. Then of course, screw anyone who knows they're the other woman or man and is okay with that fact. Your son's current GF is not a good person, especially considering she looked so proud for being the other woman. Who would be happy about their child dating a crappy person? Anyways, you're absolutely in the right. If you want to avoid family drama, then I'd just try to move on the best you can. However, a better person would care about Maggie and not shrug off the mistreatment she received from your family. And just because your family is your family, that doesn't mean you can't be disgusted by their mistreatment of others and not care about others. Your son's behavior makes sense when you consider the context of the situation. He's a selfish cheater who left his ex for someone new. Maybe he fell out of love at some point, or just met someone who was a bit more compatible. Instead of ending the relationship or discussing his issues with his ex in order to see if they could work things out, he instead chose to disrespect her in having a 2-month affair, then throwing her away the moment he felt like making things public. Your son's current attitude makes sense when you consider the above. Your wife's reaction is troubling. Even if she was trying to move past this to make peace for her son's sake, her belittling your reasonable reaction in private afterwards is just infuriating. Your reaction was sensible. You got to know his ex and accept her into the family. Of course you'd be concerned when confronted in the way you did when he brought the new girl over, even more so since she apparently had a difficult past. Your son's allowed to date whoever he wants, but you have the right to call him out on his disgusting behavior. Your wife's attitude is a red flag. I would not be all that shocked if she's cheated herself in the past. If not with you, then in a previous relationship. If she tried to make peace for your son's sake, it would be one thing, but to privately voice what she said is just disgusting. Another reason that would explain your wife's behavior would be if the new girl was pregnant. She may be attempting to foster a good relationship, since she may be part of the family in the long run. Her dismissing your son's ex and saying she never liked her is just another red flag in my personal opinion. For starters, I might suggest that you calmly tell your wife and son that you would like to discuss this matter further, but that you need some time to process this on your own for a bit. After all, they have both known about it for some time, and you were just hit with it a couple hours ago. That puts you at a huge disadvantage in terms of sorting and expressing how you really feel, and in responding constructively. Then the three of you, without any of Mark's current or previous girlfriends being present, need to sit down and talk. Express to your son and your wife that you were always very fond of Maggie, and that you are very hurt to learn that she is no longer a part of your lives. Explain to Mark that you would like to know what happened and simply to make sure that she is okay. Make sure he and your wife understand why you are concerned for Maggie's safety. Your family may not be able to comprehend your concern and may even tell you that the way you feel is illegitimate. It is not. There is no such thing as right or wrong feelings. We cannot help what we feel. But the same is true for them. They feel what they feel. What might be inappropriate, however, is the way we express or act on our feelings. For example, I'm guessing you believe your son has acted extremely immaturely here, and I would agree. If you don't think the three of you can have a constructive conversation, you might consider involving a therapist mediator to facilitate the conversation. This was actually the very first thing I thought of when I read your post. It would be a very good way to ensure that everyone is heard and that everything gets out on the table. It could also strengthen your relationships as a family. This doesn't mean I think you all need regular family counseling, just that a mediated session or two might help you move forward together. Comment and subscribe.